Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be taking a look at something called Snapup altitude, which is one of those things that was there that you probably knew was there, that wasn't there, that is a thing that isn't there. Let's go ahead and take a look. So what we're going to do today is we've got ourselves a pair of F4 Phantoms, of course, because it came out in DCS, and this is all I've been flying lately. And now down here we have an SA-6, and I don't love the SA-6. It's an extremely lethal system. It is still effective to this day. It's shot me down more times than I care to admit, probably more than anything else combined, except maybe MiG-21s, but it's a different issue. And what we're going to do is we're going to attack them. And to attack them, of course, we have a lovely weapon, this thing called the GBU-8 Hobos, which is, it's not that great, but it does do a good job. But unfortunately for us, we've got a bit of a problem. If I go ahead and pause for a second here and click on my SA-6, let's look at our problem. So we have ourselves, of course, the straight flush, all the radars and good stuff like that. We will notice the SA-6A Gainful has a maximum effective operating altitude of 35,000 feet. So you're sitting there going, duh, just stay at 36,000 feet. For some reason, my name is Chad now. But if we press F2, you'll notice there's a bunch of clouds between us and the ground. So we're like, oh, that's easy to solve. We're just going to grab this and pull this down here, putting us right into the lethal envelope of the SA-6. So you're sitting here going, oh, well, that kind of sucks. You got to do something about that because you don't want them to shoot you down. I mean, can't you do 34,999 and make them get a cheap shot on you? And the answer is no, that doesn't happen. So we're busted, right? There's nothing we can do. I guess we're just going to have to take the shot and hope for the best. No. One of the interesting problems we have is on Earth, we have this thing called gravity. And the reason gravity is awesome is because it limits things that are trying to travel directly through it. So if you want to think about this from a three-dimensional perspective for a second here, let me go get some MS Paint action here. Got it. So if I were to go draw this out here, this is my missile launcher. Ignore how pointy that thing is. And this is my little Phantom. It's got two engines. It's got a bomb on the bottom. You get the idea. So now if you want to imagine this geometrically real quickly here, when I'm firing at a weapon, let's go ahead and calculate my angle. Let's say this is a 45-degree angle here, 45-degree angle, which means this would be 13 miles this way. And this would be 13 miles this way, which is not going to happen. We know that this particular missile has to travel through gravity, and it actually gets a little bit of lift on the way up when it does this. Now, when my airplane, of course, is right here instead, all of the missile's effort is now through gravity, which means we're getting no lift. Now, this magical distance where our missile basically burns out, no longer climb, is our snap up distance. Now, what does it matter to us? It matters everything, because it means if we keep our aircraft in the snap up limitation, which means basically high until we get close, in which case then we can start going lower, they can't actually fire at us. See how clever that is? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and lock onto this guy. I'm going to go ahead and launch one hobos from this guy. I'm going to launch one hobos from this guy. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking hobos. It's not hobos. And what we're going to do is we're going to close within the snap up limitation distance. Now, if I actually would go back to the SA-6 real quick and click this guy right here, go ahead and click on the, let's go get that missile again, SA-6A, yuck. If I scroll down here, you'll probably observe that it has that as a limitation. It's one of those things that we don't have listed here. It's one of those secret things. But what we do know is there is a sea level climb rate of about 1476 feet per minute, which actually is extremely slow. That's everything we need to know, because now we know it's relative thrust, and that would mean it would take quite a few minutes to get up to us. This is good news. This basically means as long as we're within that 45-degree band there, so let's see, if we're 6 miles up right now, we need to go down to 5 miles. 5 miles up would be, doing the math, excuse me, that would be about descending now, actually. So let's go ahead and start my descent. So what I'm going to do is, just like I promised, I'm going to descend right below my cloud layer. And again, we're going to be flying right into its lethal kill range right now. And you can see we're cruising down. I'm actually going to slow down a little bit here. And the reason I want to slow down is I want to give us a little more time to descend here. So he's popping on his speed brakes. And we're just gliding through. This guy's sitting there. He's tweaking his little radar. The range officer's sitting there cranking that thing. Our current distance away from him right now, you can see he's 3 miles. There is no way in the universe he can take a vertical shot on us and hit us. It just can't be done with that particular missile. So as a matter of fact, if I were to click on him real quickly here, let's see if I can zoom in on the scenario real fast. Click on him. Oh, I won't highlight him. You got to imagine that he is basically right here, and there's nothing he can do about us because we're basically in that sweet spot where gravity is going to prevent the missile from getting any higher. Now, this sweet spot, by the way, gets really, really amusing once you get to certain altitudes. I'm just going to make a quick little adjustment here. There we go. It's 28,000. And we're in the thickness of the clouds real quickly here. We're about to pop out the bottom of the clouds. He cannot shoot at us, even though we're completely within his range, because the missile has to do all the work. There's no aerodynamic aid anywhere here. Let's go ahead and pause. We'll go ahead and take a look here. We have to be within minimum range. Let me just back him up just a tiny bit here. I always forget the minimum range of this weapon when I fire it. Probably should have been one of those things that we looked up before we fired, right? Let's Let's go check that real quick. Let's see, hobos, minimum range, minimum range, minimum range, minimum range, 1 to 5. Oh, I was within 1 mile. Whoopsie daisies. Can I fire now? Outside of vertical bore sight limit. We got to get a little bit lower. You can see we have the same limitation of our own weapon. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come down much lower here. And again, we're going to make sure that is selected. We're within his bore sight. He's going to fire on us just about anything here. Getting in 24,000 feet. I think we're going to enter into minimum range again here. And again, he can't fire at us, even though we're within his range. I'll back myself up just a little bit further here. I should probably mark where 1 mile is. Let's go back him up just a little bit more. There it goes. And that's all we need. Afterburner, maximum altitude. So unfortunately, my guys here are still within that snap-up altitude limitation here. Even though we have a fire control lock on these guys, there's nothing you can do to fire. Now, ironically, as they pull away from the SA-6 site, there it is, told you to take a shot, we actually enter into that 45-degree sweet spot, in which case we're actually able to guide a weapon onto them. Now, keep in mind, I have 2 Phantoms burning with no... Oh, yes! Oh, I don't know if that did the job because the fire control radar is still working. Whoa, look out, look out, look out, look out. Oh, I should have dropped more than 2 there. But you can see there that we were able to attack a target completely within its effective envelope because we were too high above it. Now, I know what you're thinking. Does this apply to other targets like it? And the answer is no. Be very careful, actually. Now, if you take a look here, we're running at the Egyptian border, and there's a bunch of SA-2s. Now, an SA-2 does not care. It has more than enough time to basically climb. And if you actually come down here and take a look at the weapon itself, if I were to pick SA-2 real quick, kind of scroll on down, you can see it gets me up to 2,000 knots, which is plenty of thrust. We also get 46 seconds with an endurance of 58. Now, when I go to the SAM-6, this is an important point. I should have probably brought this up sooner. If I actually were to scroll down here to the bottom, you'll notice I get 30 seconds worth of aviation fuel. A totally different category. Now, unfortunately, you can already see that my F4 flight has already been launched upon by a group of these SAM-2s. Don't worry about it too much because I can cheat and delete the missiles so they can't hit me. 1 for you, and 1 for you, and the missiles are gone. Now, the reason I did that is for the purposes of, I think I got something else even bigger launched at us. It's an SA-3. I want an SA-2. SA-3s are going to actually hit me. Is there any SA-2s that are just chilling? I think that one SA-2 right there is just chilling. Are you just chilling? You're an SA-3 again. How come all the good ones that I really like are all SA-2s? You guys are all SA-2s. Can we get one that is just not? Give me a second. There we go. Now keep in mind, an SA-2 was designed to attack targets that were high altitude, kind of constant direction. As you can actually see, it is already fired. So we're going to cheat a little bit there. Choo! And we're going to go ahead and reappear on the opposite side of the SAM group. And of course, look at that thing turn. Oh yeah, I think you're a show off now. Haha, where are you going to be now? Now I'm just being mean. I'm actually pretty impressed that this missile still has any energy left here because I'm basically making it do donuts. How you doing there? How you doing? Having a little trouble keeping up with this, huh? Now, it was one of the interesting things is in the early development phases, we had some really interesting problems with weapons that basically we get stuck in circles, and it was pretty fun to watch. But anyway, so let's go ahead and grab my crew here, and I'm going to actually order them to fly right over the top of the SA-2 here. Now, what you're going to observe is we're chilling here at about 40,000 feet. We're up pretty high. And you're also observing that the SA-2 can no longer shoot upwards. If I were to actually shift F1 and click on this guy, you'll notice here that it is, first of all, above the target ceiling by about 5,000 feet, which is, it happens sometimes. And the other thing we're going to have, of course, is, like I said, that snap issue there. The interesting thing, yeah, exactly. So we can't possibly, we can't elevate the radar, of course, but because of that snap up limitation, even though this is a really good system for this, we can't quite hit it. Now, of course, if I were to grab these guys and say, once you come down to 1,000 feet, you're going to notice I'll put on God's eye view here so you can see them just doing their kind of power donuts. We'll actually slow down, even pop out those speed brakes and just be really irritating. There they go. Yeah, it's about, look at that. We're about 11,000 feet, and notice we're completely incapable of actually engaging this target. Now, what's really fun here is I'm actually going to speed up here. Let's go up to Afterburner real quick here. Right turn, right turn, right turn. Whoa, come on. He's just sitting there mushing. Now, unfortunately, he turned away at exactly the wrong time. If he had turned back the other... See, he's still trying to pull up here. I hope he doesn't run into the ground. So the cool thing here is that now that we basically spiraled down here, what I can do is grab those hobos that I had left over from before. I can come around and I can basically get a cheap shot on him because now not only was I inside of a snap zone, I was also within the weapon's minimum range. So I can literally just come by here like this, pop up just a little bit. I don't know what the local altitude here is. It's 105. Yeah, it should be fine. I did order you to fire, right? You did see me. You did see me do that. Again, let me just double check to make sure I wasn't doing that. I was out of vertical bore sight limits. I do that every single time. There he goes. You got to remember those weapons are glide weapons. They're not straight down weapons like later JDAMs. But you can see there that I've gone ahead and fired both of those weapons off, and I never was engaged by the SA-2 again, even though it has 6 missiles. It fired 2 of them on me already. And as a matter of fact, what it'll probably do is get a couple... Just kidding. It's not going to get anything. So as you can see, the strategy here is to go to the target, do a long spiral down to it, do your thing, and then do a long spiral and leave and go get another one and never ever have to deal with it as long as that particular missile is of an older generation and incapable of engaging targets that are that steep to it. Cool. Engage. Also, enjoy.